I moved back home after college to help my mom through chemo. I gave up a downtown apartment so I could drive her to appointments and cook when she was too tired to stand. I paid a little rent and most of the utilities because my brother was still getting back on his feet. When my sister-in-law got pregnant, I turned my home office into a nursery and told myself it was temporary. I held her hair when she threw up, did midnight pharmacy runs, and painted tiny clouds on the ceiling over the crib. 2 weeks before her due date, my mom called a family meeting in the living room. My brother folded his arms, my dad looked at the carpet, and my mom wouldn't meet my eyes. "You don't deserve to be here anymore," she said. "This house needs to be for real family now." They gave me 14 days to leave the home I'd just helped save from foreclosure. I packed my life into 3 boxes and promised myself they'd never again decide whether I belonged. My name is Chloe. I'm 24, a junior software developer in Kansas City. Which sounds fancier than it is. I mostly fix other people's bugs and make buttons line up on banking websites. It pays well enough that I could, technically, afford my own apartment. I didn't have one because of my family. 2 years ago, the plan looked different. I was about to sign a lease with college friends, thinking about exposed brick and overpriced coffee within walking distance. Then my mother called. "They found something on my scan," she said, voice brittle. "They say it's early, but I'll need chemo. Your dad's still working nights. I don't want to bother your brother. Could you maybe stay a little longer?" My brother, Luke, is 5 years older. Golden child. Football star in high school, business degree. Married to a woman my mother calls a real prize at least once a week. Me? I was the smart one, the one who got out on scholarships and came back with stories about hackathons and JavaScript frameworks my parents pretended to understand. When Mom asked, I didn't really have a choice. At least, that's how it felt. "Of course," I said. "I'll move home. Just for a bit." A bit stretched. I moved back into my old room. Posters still on the walls, the dent in the carpet from my childhood desk. My parents' split level in the suburbs hadn't changed much in 10 years, except for the giant TV my dad had bought when the Chiefs won. At first, it wasn't bad. I saved money on rent, cooked real meals instead of eating cereal at midnight, and relearned the creaks in the floorboards. I also became, somehow, the third parent in the house. I took Mom to chemo at 8 in the morning, sat with her for hours while toxic medicine dripped into her veins, then went back to my laptop and my code. I picked up Dad's prescriptions when he forgot. I cleaned the kitchen, mowed the lawn when he pulled double shifts. Luke visited on Sundays, bearing store-bought casseroles and jokes. His wife, Jenna, came when she wasn't swamped at her social media job. Mom's face lit up when they walked in. "Look at my babies," she'd say, kissing Luke's cheek, fussing over Jenna's outfits. "Chloe's such a help around here, aren't you, honey?" I was help. They were the reason to keep going. I didn't resent it, at least not at first. I told myself this was what family did. My friends were paying half their salary to landlords. I was investing in something more important. The first time I realized the math was off was when the gas bill came. Dad slapped it on the table, sighing. "These prices are ridiculous," he muttered. "I don't know how people manage." I picked up the envelope. "I can cover it this month," I said. My bonus came through. Mom smiled, relieved. "You're such a blessing," she said. "Luke and Jenna are just starting out. They need every penny." "They make more than I do," I said lightly. She waved that away. "Different," she said. "They have a mortgage, wedding debt, future children. You're just you." Just me. I wrote a check. Over the next year, helping bled into financing. I paid a portion of the property tax when an unexpected assessment hit. I covered groceries on weeks Dad's overtime was cut. I set up autopay for the internet because you need it for work anyway. When I once suggested we talk about formalizing how much I'd cover, Mom looked wounded. "You're keeping score?" she asked. "After everything we've done for you?" Guilt is a powerful silencer. I swallowed the spreadsheet forming in my head and said, "No, of course not. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page." "The page," she said, "is that we're a family. We all pitch in. When Luke was in college, we helped him. Now you help us. One day your kids will help you. That's how it works." The difference, which no one acknowledged, was that Luke got help when he was building something for himself. I was helping to hold together something that was quietly collapsing under years of bad decisions. Then Jenna got pregnant. The news broke at Sunday dinner, with much fanfare. "We weren't going to tell anyone yet," she said, placing a hand on her perfectly flat stomach. "But we couldn't keep it in." Mom screamed, actually screamed, then burst into tears. Dad smiled in that dazed way men of his generation do when confronted with tiny future humans. "Oh my God, a grandbaby," Mom said, hugging Jenna. "We have to start planning. A shower, a nursery. Luke, we'll turn the guest room into a baby room at your place, of course." Luke shrugged. "About that," he said. "The townhouse is tight, and the landlord's iffy on kids. We're thinking we might need to stay here for a bit after the baby comes. Just until we find something bigger." Mom gasped like he'd offered her a winning lottery ticket. "Of course," she said. "This house is your house. We'll make room. Chloe won't mind." She said it like I wasn't sitting 3 feet away. I set my fork down carefully. "We have 3 bedrooms," I said. "Yours, mine, the guest room. Where is everyone going to sleep?" Mom waved a hand. "Oh, we'll figure it out," she said. "The baby can have your room." "Where would I sleep?" I asked. "You're hardly here," she said. "You work all the time, you're out with friends. You can take the basement or the couch for a while. Or maybe it's time you got your own place." Something in my chest twinged. "I live here," I said quietly. "I pay rent." "You give us a little money to help," she said. "It's not like you're on a lease." "I've been covering half the utilities and the internet," I said. "I paid the property tax in June." "That was a gift," she snapped. "Don't throw it in our faces." Luke cleared his throat. "Maybe we can all calm down," he said. "We're just brainstorming." But Mom's eyes had narrowed. She'd smelled disrespect, and there was nothing she pounced on faster. "You think you're entitled to this house now?" she demanded. "Because you helped 1 year? We raised you here. We paid for your food, your clothes, your college applications. You owe us, not the other way around." "I'm not saying I own it," I said. "I'm saying I live here. I'd like to be included when you're deciding to give my room away." "Your room," she scoffed. "You're almost 25. Grown women don't live in their childhood bedrooms." "Plenty do when they're helping their parents through cancer," I said before I could stop myself. The words, it was technically true. Emotionally, it was a lie. "I'm grateful you helped with my treatments," she went on. "But don't act like you're some martyr. Luke has done plenty for this family, too." "Like what?" I asked, genuinely curious. He shot me a warning look. "Chloe," Dad said softly. "Let's not." "No," Mom said sharply. "Maybe we should. Maybe you need to hear how arrogant you sound." She pushed back her chair, standing so she could look down at me. "Here's how this is going to go," she said. "Luke and Jenna are having a baby. Babies need stability. This house will be their home for a while. We'll give them your room. You can move to the basement or start looking for your own place. You've got a good job. You'll land on your feet." "You're giving my room away," I said, "to people who don't pay anything here." "Because they're starting a family," she said. "You're just marking time. You come and go. You don't deserve to be here more than they do. You don't deserve to be here." The words hit harder than I expected. Luke shifted, looking uncomfortable. "Mom," he said, "maybe we can talk about this later. We don't have to decide tonight." She rounded on him. "Don't you start," she said. "I'm trying to help you. You'll thank me when you're not trying to raise a baby in that shoebox." Jenna slipped her hand through his arm, wide eyes flicking between us. "I don't want to cause problems," she murmured. "You're not causing anything," Mom said. "You're family. We take care of family." The implication was clear. I was, what? Staff? A tenant who'd overstayed? I looked at Dad. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Everything in me wanted to argue more, to list every bill I'd paid, every appointment I'd sat through, to make a case for my right to this space. Instead, I felt a strange, cold clarity settle in. If they truly believed I didn't deserve to be there after everything, no amount of spreadsheets would change that. I couldn't force them to value me, but I could decide where I let myself be devalued. Okay, I said, surprising myself with how calm I sounded. If that's how you feel, I'll start looking for apartments. Mom blinked, thrown off. Well, good, she said. It's time you grew up. I grew up the day I moved back here, I said. You just didn't notice. I stood, collected our plates, and took them to the sink on autopilot. The mundane act of rinsing dishes felt surreal, like my body was going through motions my mind had checked out of. In my old room that night, I sat on the bed and looked around. The shelves with my worn-out YA novels. The corkboard with photos from high school. The dent in the wall from when Luke had thrown a shoe at me and missed. I packed one box. Clothes, important documents, my laptop. The rest could wait. I lay awake listening to the muffled sound of the TV in the living room, Mom's voice drifting down the hallway. She'll be fine, she was saying. She needs a push. Luke mumbled something I couldn't hear. Mom's answer was crystal clear. She doesn't deserve to take up space here when you're the one giving us a grandchild. I stared at the ceiling until morning. By the time the sun came up, one thing was certain. If they thought I didn't deserve to be there, I was going to make very sure they never got to decide where I did deserve to be again. I didn't storm out the next morning. I made coffee like always, packed my lunch, and drove to work with my stomach in knots. The house felt different, though. Not like home, like a place I was renting by the day from people who decided the lease was up. At my desk, while my coworkers debated takeout options in our team chat, I opened a private browser window and typed studios near downtown Kansas City, one bedroom under $1,000. Listings popped up, tiny spaces with cozy in the description, some with brick, some with suspiciously cropped photos that didn't show the neighbors. Just looking at them made something inside me unclench. I scheduled 3 viewings for the weekend. The idea that I could afford any of them on my own felt surreal. I'd spent so long funneling extra money into my parents' house that I hadn't really let myself picture living alone. That night, I told Mom and Dad at dinner. I'm going apartment hunting Saturday, I said, stabbing a green bean. I'll be out most of the day. Mom's fork paused midair. Oh, she said. Already? You told me I had 2 weeks, I said. I'd like to be out before the baby comes. Dad cleared his throat. You don't have to rush, kiddo, he said. We can figure something out in the basement for a bit. I looked at him. You sat there while Mom told me I don't deserve to be here, I said quietly. I'm not going to wait around to see if she changes her mind. This is happening. He winced but didn't argue. Mom set her fork down deliberately. If you want to run off because you can't handle sharing, she said, that's your choice. But don't you dare act like we're kicking you out onto the street. You literally told me to leave, I said. To my face. I said it's time you started your own life, she corrected. There's a difference. Not from my side of the table, I replied. Jenna, blessedly, kept her head down, focusing on her plate. I wasn't angry at her. She hadn't asked to be the sun everything revolved around. But she wasn't doing much to stop it either. Saturday, I toured 3 apartments. The first smelled like old smoke and despair. The second was cute but had a freeway practically outside the window. The third was right. Tiny, yes, but bright. A corner unit on the 3rd floor of a building from the 1960s, with big windows and actual hardwood floors. The kitchen was basically a wall, but there was room for a couch and a small desk. Pets allowed. I asked the leasing agent, already picturing a cat in the sunny spot by the window. Cats, yes, she said. Dogs under 20 pounds. Rent was doable. Utilities were extra, but not insane. My commute would be shorter than for my parents' suburb. No curfew, no guilt, no family meetings. I'll take it, I heard myself say before my anxiety could list 100 reasons to delay. I signed the lease that afternoon, paid the security deposit from the savings account I'd been topping up in drips for years, and scheduled move-in for the following weekend. On Sunday, I told my family. Mom's reaction was instant. So you're just abandoning us, she said. After everything we've been through. You're getting what you wanted, I said, keeping my tone even. My room will be free before the baby's born. You'll have all this space to yourselves. That's not the point, she snapped. The point is, family doesn't walk out when things get hard. I stayed when things were hard. I said. Chemo. Bills. Dad's overtime getting cut. I'm leaving now that you've made it clear I'm a placeholder. Dad spoke up, quietly. Chloe, he said, I'm not happy about how this played out. But she's right about one thing. You've done a lot. Maybe it's time you look out for yourself. Mom rounded on him. You're taking her side? She demanded. I'm not taking sides, he said. I'm tired, Dee. I don't want to fight with our daughter while she's packing boxes. Fine, she said, folding her arms. Do what you want. Just don't expect us to come running when your big city life falls apart. I won't, I said. You've made it clear where I stand. The rest of the week was a blur of cardboard. Leah came over with pizza and wine and a label. You know you're not responsible for fixing this, right? She said, taping up a box. Her feelings, your brother's housing, any of it. I know, I said. My body knows. My guilt hasn't gotten the memo yet. Mom flitted in and out, alternating between icy silence and pointed comments. Don't forget you'll need to buy your own groceries now, she said at one point. And toilet paper. Dad texted me a photo like it was a normal real estate update. The sold sticker slapped across the sign. The grass still winter brown. Sold, he wrote. Moving next month. I stared at the picture for a long time. That house had been where I'd learned to ride a bike, to parallel park, to debug my first lines of code. It had also been the place where my mother told me, calmly, that I didn't deserve a room in it. I put my phone down, opened the blinds in my own apartment, and looked at the patch of sky visible between buildings. Home, I realized, wasn't walls. It was where no one questioned your right to exist there. My new life wasn't glamorous. Cheap IKEA furniture, mismatched thrift store plates, but it was mine. I got a cat from the shelter, a scruffy gray thing I named Bite. He claimed the sunny spot by the window as his and treated me like an employee, which, frankly, felt familiar and somehow less exhausting than my family. I poured the money I used to send home into goals with my own name on them, extra payments on my student loans, an emergency fund, a savings account labeled Future House Mine. I didn't cut my family off completely. Dad came by once or twice a month, usually under the excuse of being in the neighborhood. We'd drink coffee on my couch while Bite glared at him from the bookshelf. He'd show me shaky videos of Mia toddling around their new rental, a smaller duplex across town. She keeps going to the old corner and looking for you, he said once. Where your desk used to be. Something warm and painful twisted in my chest. You can bring her here, I said. Anytime you're watching her and need a break. He hesitated. Your mother, he began, doesn't have to know everything, I said gently. The first time he brought Mia over, she barreled through my doorway in a tiny denim jacket, curls sticking out from under a knit hat. Aunt Coco, she shrieked, barreling into my knees. I scooped her up, breathing in that faint baby shampoo smell, and felt a surge of protectiveness I hadn't expected. Whatever happened with my parents and Luke and Jenna, this little person was not responsible. I could be a safe place for her without sacrificing myself on the altar of their bad choices again. Mom, meanwhile, stayed prickly. She'd call occasionally, mostly to complain. The new landlord is useless, she'd say. The neighbors are loud. We never should have had to sell. If you hadn't left when you did, I'd let her talk, then deflect. We sang Happy Birthday. Mia smeared chocolate in her hair. Kids played on the swings. Adults made small talk. Eventually, the tension eased. People asked me about my job, my apartment. No one looked at me like a cautionary tale anymore. More like someone who'd done something they secretly wished they could do. When it was time to pack up, Jenna pulled me aside. I wanted to say I'm sorry, she said, twisting a napkin in her hands, for not speaking up more when all that happened. I was so overwhelmed with the baby and everything. I let her bulldoze you. You were also dependent on them for housing, I said. I get it. It's different now, she said. We're learning. Luke's finally looking at our budget. I started doing freelance gigs during nap time. We're trying not to repeat. She trailed off, glancing toward my mother, who was scolding a toddler for dropping crumbs. That, she finished. You don't owe me anything, I said. But I appreciate you saying it. "If you ever want to see Mia without the circus," she said, "you're always welcome. At our place. Or yours." "Same," I said. "As long as it doesn't turn into me rescuing you financially." She laughed, a little ruefully. "I think we're all out of illusions about who rescues who," she said. That night, back in my apartment, I watched Bite chase a dust mote in a shaft of light and thought about how different everything felt. My parents had lost something real. Not just the house, though that was huge. They'd lost their automatic claim on my labor, my money, my presence. They could no longer assume I'd live in a basement, or take the couch, or quietly write checks when things got tight. They'd tried to shrink my space in their world. I'd expanded my world instead. I still call my dad. I still send Mia birthday presents. I occasionally answer Mom's calls when I have the energy, and I hang up when the conversation turns into a guilt spiral. She hasn't apologized. She may never. But apologizing isn't a prerequisite for me to live well. If anything, accepting that she might never say I was wrong has been weirdly freeing. I stopped holding my life hostage waiting for a sentence she doesn't know how to form. The revenge I got wasn't cinematic. No dramatic court cases. No viral videos of me reading her a speech. It was quieter, but it cut deeper. She taught everyone, including me, that I was the child who would always bend, always help, always stay. Now, when the gas bill comes and she panics, she has to confront a reality she helped create. The daughter she told didn't deserve a room there no longer lives in her house or her pocketbook. And I get to live in a space, physical and emotional, where my right to be there isn't conditional on how useful I am. If you're listening to this and someone has told you, in words or in behavior, that you don't deserve to be where you are, here's what I learned. You can't make them see your value. You can decide not to offer it where it's treated like a given. Sometimes the most powerful form of revenge is not making a scene. It's taking your keys, your savings, your kindness, and walking out of a house where love feels like rent you'll never stop paying, and into a life where the only person who decides you deserve to be there is you.